Alcatraz is a classic prison located on the island in the Gulf of San Francisco. She was called a rock, and she was considered the most reliable prison in the world. Since the opening in 1934, no one could escape from it until 1962. Today we are talking about the impudent escape, which still remains the mystery of the main characters of this story. The three closed Frank Morris became the famous heroes of Banks, who has a high IQ and a tendency to detailed planning. Frank Morris was born in Washington, but early lost his parents and grew up in foster families. In adolescence, he began to commit crimes, including the theft and robberies of Morris, has a unique IQ, 133. This is higher than the average level and allows him to become the leader of the fugitive group. His sharp mind intends to plan the details of the escape. He was convicted of armed robbery and went on a campaign from another prison. He was sent to Alcatraz. Brothers John and Clarence England. John and Clarence England, in a poor farmer family in Florida. Their childhood passed in the swamps, where they learned to catch fish and swim in ordinary conditions, including cold water. These skills played a key role in their escape. The brothers began to rob banks at a young age. Their enemies were different in that they used rubber masks to hide their faces. Of John and Clarence when establishing a bank restriction. Because of their previous shoots, they were transferred to Alcatraz as connected adapters. The brothers were incredibly close, always supported each other, and even developed the escape plans together. Alan West, the fourth participant. Alan West, another prisoner. Alcatraz initially participated in the development of the plan and with the goal of cutting out tunnels. He was a master in all hands and was engaged in the creation of home-made tools. The night of the escape, West was unable to escape from his cell. The hole in the wall was too narrow for him to make it. He later detailed the plan to interrogators, making him the main source of information about the escape. Morris and West devised the plan, but everyone involved contributed. The prisoners began planning the escape months before the attempt. Their plan involved incredible ingenuity. Tunnels. They used spoons, table knives, and hand drills made from an old vacuum cleaner to cut holes in the walls of their cells. The holes were in service corridors. To cover up their work, they covered the holes with cardboard panels decorated to match the color of the wall. Service corridors that lead to ventilation shafts are guarded behind the walls. Fake heads. To fool guards, they made fake heads out of a mixture of soap, toilet paper, and paint. The hair for them was collected from a hairdresser. These heads were used to trick guards into thinking prisoners were sleeping in their beds. Vest materials for the raft and vest. Raincoats. The prisoners collected old raincoats, about 50 pieces, which were used by other prisoners. These raincoats were made of rubberized fabric, ideal for making everyday items. Glue. For sealing, they used glue and a rubber solution, which they heated to make the joint stronger. Seams. The seams of the raft and vests were hand-stitched, using thread and improvised materials to give the structure additional strength. Making the raft. Dimensions. The density was large enough to accommodate 3 people. Its design resembled a tight triangle shape. Inflation. To inflate the raft, they used a homemade pump made from a musical accordion, which they had secretly obtained in its natural state. Making the life jackets. Each life jacket was made from rubberized raincoats, glued and stitched in such a way that they retained air. The jackets were filled with air through valves, which were also closed manually. Durability. The design proved strong enough to withstand the resistance of the Gulf. The remains of the raft found indicated that the prisoners actually used it to cross the water. Making the raft and the life jackets was the risky part. If the guards had discovered the raincoats or homemade tools, the plan would have been thwarted. The prisoners had no way. This stage of the escape was one of the most impressive examples of invention. Working at night, they entrusted their tools and the results of their work to secret places. The holes in the walls were hidden by cardboard panels. The night of the Alcatraz escape, June 11, 1962. This night became one of the most iconic. Frank Morris and brothers John and Clarence England got out of their holes in their cells. They entered the service corridor and climbed up the ventilation shaft to the roof of the building. Alan West, the fourth participant in the escape, was unable to get out in time. His hole was too narrow, and he lost precious time considering its expansion. By the time he was able to get out, his comrades had already left the building. West later became a kitchen source for the investigation into how exactly the escape was organized on the roof, and in freezing temperatures, the prisoners made their way to the roof of the closet using a ventilation shaft. They carefully climbed down, avoiding the attention of the guards, and found themselves near the water. Here they had previously placed hidden homemade dents and life-saving residents. With the help of a raft and vests, they sailed from the islands in San Francisco Bay. Their final destination remains a mystery. The next morning, they discovered escape. On the morning of June 12th, the guards reported that 3 cells were empty. False heads on the beds misled them, and the search for the escapees began with a great delay. A large-scale search began. The Coast Guard, police, and the FBI searched the entire bay and the surrounding area. Traces found later, pieces of separate thick fabric, and ore were found in the bay and placed in a bag with documents. However, the bodies of the escapees were never found, which gave rise to many theories about whether they survived or not. The Anglin brothers' family claimed to have received postcards and letters from them. In 2013,